My name is Emily Grace Harlan. I'm 33. Last Tuesday at 6:47 a.m., I woke up on my kitchen floor with dried blood under my cheek and my father standing over me saying, "This is exactly the kind of drama we're talking about, Emily." I'd collapsed 11 hours earlier. My shift at County Memorial had ended at 7 p.m., but I'd stayed until 7:40 p.m. charting a trauma case. I'd driven home, unlocked my door, and that's the last thing I remembered until my father's voice cut through the fog. The paramedics were gone. He'd sent them away. "You don't need an ambulance," my mother said from the doorway. Susan Harlan, 61, wearing her church cardigan at dawn. "You need to stop seeking attention." I tried to sit up. My head felt like it was splitting open. "What are you doing in my house?" "Your house?" My father, Robert, laughed once, sharp. "That's rich, considering." I didn't know what he meant. Not yet. My sister Megan stood behind them, arms crossed, saying nothing. She was 29, worked in marketing, and had mastered the art of looking concerned while doing absolutely nothing. "We found you," my mother continued. "Megan had a key. We came by to talk about Grandma Evelyn's estate, and here you were, unconscious on the floor like some kind of drama queen," my father finished. "You've always been one." Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time is it there. I pulled myself up using the counter. My scrubs were still on from my shift. There was a dark stain on the knee where I'd hit the tile. I collapsed. I've been working doubles for 3 weeks straight. I'm exhausted. Exhausted? My mother repeated, making the word sound like a lie. "We're all exhausted, Emily. I'm exhausted. Your father's exhausted. But we don't throw ourselves on the floor for sympathy." I didn't throw myself. "The neighbors saw the ambulance," Megan finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, almost apologetic, but her eyes were calculating. "Mrs. Chen next door asked if you were okay. It's embarrassing." I stared at her. "I'm sorry my medical emergency embarrassed you." "Don't be dramatic," my father said. And there it was, that phrase, the one he'd been using since I was 7 years old. Don't be dramatic. Don't be emotional. Don't be so sensitive. We came here to discuss something important, and instead, we find this. What's so important it couldn't wait until I'm conscious? My mother pulled out her phone. "We've been going through Grandma Evelyn's papers. There are some discrepancies." Let me take you back 4 months. Grandma Evelyn died on a Saturday in October. She was 87, and she'd lived in the same house on Maple Ridge Avenue for 53 years. I'd spent every Sunday there from the time I was 6 until I moved out at 22. The house smelled like lavender sachets and old books. She kept vanilla wafers in a glass jar shaped like a pineapple. The last time I saw her, 2 days before she died, she held my hand and said, "The house is yours, little star. I put it in writing. Your mother doesn't know yet, but she will. Don't let them take it from you." I thought she was confused. Morphine does that. But she squeezed my hand hard enough that I felt her wedding ring press into my palm. "Promise me you won't give up. Promise." I promised. At the funeral, my mother wore black Chanel and cried beautifully. My father shook hands and accepted condolences like a politician. Megan stood between them, the perfect daughter, while I sat in the back row in my nurse's scrubs because I'd come straight from a double shift and didn't have time to change. After the service, my mother pulled me aside in the church parking lot. "The will reading is Tuesday. You should be there." "Of course I'll be there." She studied my face like she was looking for something. "Grandma left the house to all of us. Equally. You understand that, right?" "She told me. She told you what she thought you wanted to hear," my mother interrupted. "She was sick, Emily. Confused. The actual will is very clear." I didn't argue. I'd learned not to. The will reading was exactly what my mother said it would be. The house, valued at $185,000, was to be divided equally among her 3 children, my mother Susan, my uncle James, and my Aunt Caroline. no mention of me. The lawyer, a man named Frederick Townsend with wire-rimmed glasses, read it twice because I asked him to. "Are you sure?" I said. "She told me specifically." "Emily." My mother's voice was soft, patient, the way you'd talk to a confused child. "I know this is hard. You were close to Grandma, but the will is the will." Uncle James cleared his throat. "I'll sign off on my third if Susan wants to buy me out. I live in Colorado anyway." "That's generous, James," my mother said, already pulling out her checkbook. I sat there while they discussed dollar amounts, while they divided up my grandmother's life into thirds and halves, while Aunt Caroline negotiated for the china cabinet, and my mother claimed the jewelry. I drove back to my apartment, a studio that cost $890 a month, and cried for 20 minutes in the parking lot. Then I went inside and slept for 4 hours before my next shift. That was 4 months ago. Now, standing in my kitchen at 6:51 a.m. with my parents judging me for collapsing, my mother was still talking about Grandma's papers. "We found some irregularities," she said. "Credit card statements in your name. Did you open accounts using Grandma's address?" My head was pounding. "What? No." "There's $47,000 in debt," my father said. "Cards opened over the last 2 years. All sent to Grandma's house. All in your name." I felt the floor tilt again. "That's impossible. I didn't open any credit cards." "The signatures match yours," Megan said quietly. She held up her phone, showing me a photocopy of a credit application. The signature looked like mine. Almost. "I didn't sign that." "There's also a small account in your daughter's name," my mother continued. "Emma, is it? $1,200. Did you use your own child's identity for fraud?" Emma. My 5-year-old daughter who lived with her father in Ohio because I couldn't afford a 2-bedroom apartment on a nurse's salary. The custody agreement I'd signed 3 years ago that still made my stomach hurt when I thought about it. "I would never—" "We're not accusing you," my father said, but his tone said otherwise. "We're trying to understand. These cards were open during the time Grandma was declining. You visited her every week. You had access." "So did you," I said. My voice came out stronger than I expected. "You visited her too. You had a key." "Don't turn this around," my mother snapped, and there it was, the real Susan under the church cardigan veneer. "You're the one collapsing on floors and opening fraudulent accounts. We're concerned about your mental state, Emily. We've been concerned for a while." "My mental state is fine. I'm exhausted because I work 60-hour weeks." "You collapsed," my father repeated. "That's not normal. We think you need help." I looked at Megan. She wouldn't meet my eyes. "What kind of help?" My mother exchanged a glance with my father. It was the kind of look parents give each other when they've already decided something and they're just waiting for you to catch up. "There's a facility," my mother said. "A rest home. Very nice. Private rooms. You could take some time, get evaluated, work through whatever's causing these episodes." "I don't have episodes. I collapsed once because I'm overworked." "Twice," Megan corrected softly. "You fainted at the hospital last month. They sent you home early." That was true. I'd blacked out for 8 seconds in the supply closet during hour 16 of a double. They'd made me sit down, given me orange juice, sent me home with a warning about self-care. "That was dehydration," I said. "And this?" My father gestured at the dried blood on the floor. "What's this?" I didn't have an answer. My hands were shaking. I needed them to leave. I needed to think. "We're trying to help you," my mother said. "We love you. But we can't stand by and watch you destroy yourself. The debt, the collapses, the instability, it's too much." "I didn't open those credit cards." "Then who did?" I looked at all 3 of them. My parents, my sister, the people who were supposed to protect me, and I saw something in their faces that made my blood run cold. They'd already decided I was guilty. This conversation wasn't about finding the truth. It was about making me admit to something I didn't do. I need you to leave, I said. Emily, get out of my house. My father's jaw tightened. This attitude is exactly what we're talking about. You can't have a rational conversation. Out. They left. But before my mother walked out the door, she turned back. We're filing a petition tomorrow for guardianship. The courts need to know you're not capable of managing your own affairs. For your own safety. The door closed. I stood in my kitchen, alone, with dried blood on the floor and my entire world crumbling around me. I called the hospital and told them I couldn't come in for my shift that night. Then I called my ex-husband David in Ohio. It's early. What's wrong? I told him everything. The collapse, my parents' visit, the credit card fraud I didn't commit, the guardianship threat. He was quiet for a long time. Then, did you open cards in Emma's name? No, God no. David, you know me. I know you're working yourself to death. I know you sent me $200 last month when you couldn't afford it because you felt guilty about Emma being here instead of with you. I know you're not okay. I'm fine. You're not. And if your parents are filing for guardianship, they must have evidence. Forged evidence. You think your parents forged credit applications? When he said it out loud, it sounded insane. My parents were respected members of their community. My father was a retired school principal. My mother volunteered at the church thrift store. They didn't commit fraud. I don't know what I think, I said. Maybe you should talk to a lawyer. I didn't have money for a lawyer. I had $340 in my checking account, and my next paycheck wouldn't come for 6 days. I hung up and sat on my couch, the one I'd bought used from Facebook Marketplace for $75. The apartment was quiet except for the refrigerator humming and the upstairs neighbor's footsteps. I pulled up my credit report on my phone. It took 3 tries because my hands wouldn't stop shaking. When it finally loaded, I saw them. 6 credit cards I'd never opened. Total balance, $47,284. Capital. First rewards, $8,100. Chase Platinum, $12,500. Discover Cashback, $9,200. American Express Blue, $11,384. Bank of America, Preferred, $4,100. Citibank, Premium, $2,000. All opened between 14 months ago and 6 months ago. All sent to 482 Maple Ridge Avenue. Grandma's house. I clicked on the Capital First account. The purchase history made my stomach turn. Furniture, electronics, jewelry, restaurant charges in cities I'd never been to. Someone had been living a life on these cards while I was working doubles and eating ramen for dinner. I scrolled to the applications. They were scanned copies, uploaded to the credit bureau's database. The signature was mine. But it wasn't. The E in Emily looped too high. The H in Harlan was too angular. Close enough to pass a casual inspection. Not close enough if you really looked. I'd written my signature 10,000 times on patient charts. I knew every curve and slant. This wasn't mine. I called Capital First. The customer service representative was polite but firm. The account was opened with proper identification, social security number, driver's license number, address. Everything matched. It wasn't me. Do you want to file a fraud report? Yes. That will require a police report and an investigation. If we determine the charges are valid, you'll be responsible for the balance plus any legal fees. I hung up. I called the other 5 banks. Same story, same warning. File a police report at your own risk. I didn't sleep that night. I went to work at 11 p.m. for my night shift. 12 hours in the emergency department at County Memorial. 3 cardiac arrests, 1 overdose, 2 car accidents, 7 cases of flu, and a kitchen burn that required skin grafts. I charted every patient, checked every vitals monitor, held the hand of a woman whose husband died at 3:42 a.m. while she cried and asked me why God would do this. I didn't have answers for her. I barely had answers for myself. At 7 a.m., I clocked out. My supervisor, Denise Marshall, stopped me at the door. "Emily, my office." I followed her. She closed the door and gestured for me to sit. "I got a call yesterday," she said, "from a Susan Harlan. She said she's your mother." My heart stopped. What did she say? "She's concerned about you. She mentioned you collapsed at home. She asked about your attendance record, your performance reviews, whether we've noticed any concerning behavior." "What did you tell her?" "I told her I can't discuss employee information with family members without your consent." Denise leaned forward. Her face was kind but serious. "Emily, are you okay?" "I'm fine." "You collapsed in the supply closet 3 weeks ago. You've worked 14 doubles in the last month. Your time off requests have all been denied because we're understaffed, but that doesn't mean you should be working yourself into the ground. I need the hours. You need sleep." She pulled out a file. "I'm requiring you to take 3 days off. Starting now. Unpaid but mandatory. You're no good to your patients if you can't stand up." I wanted to argue. I needed the money. But I also needed to figure out what my parents were planning. "Okay," I said. I drove home. It was 7:34 a.m. on a Wednesday. The sun was too bright. Everything hurt. I found the letter in my mailbox. Official courthouse letterhead, case number 24-CV-8841. In the matter of Emily Grace Harlan, petition for emergency guardianship. I read it 3 times. My father, Robert Harlan, was petitioning the court for temporary emergency guardianship on the grounds that I was mentally incapacitated and unable to manage my financial and personal affairs. Evidence cited multiple credit cards opened fraudulently in my name, proving lack of financial judgment, collapse requiring emergency medical intervention, proving physical instability and possible mental impairment, pattern of overwork leading to dangerous exhaustion, proving inability to care for myself, statements from concerned family members, my mother and sister, attesting to erratic behavior and emotional instability. The hearing was scheduled for Monday, 4 days away. If the judge granted it, my father would have legal control over my bank accounts, my medical decisions, my housing, everything. I'd become a legal dependent, a child. I sat on my apartment floor and read the petition again. My sister Megan had signed an affidavit. I skipped to her section. "I, Megan Harlan, have witnessed my sister Emily's declining mental state over the past year. She frequently appears disoriented and exhausted. She has made irrational financial decisions, including opening multiple credit accounts she cannot afford. She collapsed at her home on March 18th, requiring emergency medical response. I believe she is a danger to herself and possibly others. I support my father's petition for guardianship in order to protect Emily from further self-harm." Further self-harm. Like I was suicidal. Like I was the problem. I called Megan. She didn't answer. I texted her. "How could you sign that?" 3 dots appeared then. "I'm trying to help you, Em. We all are." I threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall and the screen cracked. For 2 days, I did nothing. I stayed in my apartment. I ate crackers and cried and slept in broken intervals. I thought about calling a lawyer, but I didn't know any lawyers, and the free legal aid clinic had a 3-week waiting list. On Friday, I went to Grandma Evelyn's house. It had been sold, according to my mother, to pay off estate taxes and debts. A nice family from Minnesota had bought it for $178,000. They were moving in next month. But when I drove past, the for sale sign was gone, and the house was empty. No curtains in the windows, no cars in the driveway. The lawn was overgrown. I parked and walked up to the porch. The door was locked, but the side window, the one that never latched properly, was still broken. I pushed it open and climbed inside. The house was empty, completely. No furniture, no rugs, no pictures on the walls, just dust and echoes. I walked through the rooms where I'd spent every Sunday of my childhood. The kitchen where Grandma taught me to make pie crust. The living room where we'd watched Jeopardy every night at 7 p.m., the bedroom where she'd died. I sat on the floor in that bedroom and let myself cry. Real crying. The kind that comes from your chest and makes your whole body shake. Then I saw it. The baseboard near the closet. It was loose. It had always been loose. Grandma used to hide chocolate bars there when she was trying to quit sugar. I pulled the baseboard away. Behind it was an envelope, old, yellowed, addressed to me in Grandma's handwriting. Emily Grace, for when you need it most. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a key, a folded letter, and a business card for a law office I didn't recognize. Margaret Whitaker, attorney at law, an address in the historic district downtown. I read the letter. Dearest Emily, my little star. If you're reading this, then I'm gone, and your parents are doing exactly what I knew they would do. I'm sorry I couldn't stop this while I was alive. I tried, but your mother doesn't hear truth. She only hears what she wants to hear. Do you remember when you were 8, and you asked me why your mother didn't like you? I told you it wasn't about you. It was about her. I told you that some people need someone to blame for their own unhappiness, and your mother chose you. I wish I'd protected you better. The house at 482 Maple Ridge Avenue is yours. I left it to you in my will. The real will, not the fake one your mother had Frederick Townsend create. The original is with Margaret Whitaker at the address on this card. She's been my attorney for 30 years. She knows everything. Inside the safe deposit box, key enclosed, box 847 at First National Bank, you'll find the original will, signed and notarized on June 14th, 2 years before I died. Proof that your father opened those credit cards, using your identity. I found the applications in his office when I visited last Christmas. I photographed everything. Bank statements showing he withdrew $23,000 from my accounts over 18 months before I died. The forged guardianship papers he tried to make me sign when I was in hospice, claiming you were incompetent. I refused. Nurse Rachel Kimmons witnessed my refusal and signed a statement. Mess. A letter I wrote to the probate court explaining what I knew would happen. Margaret has instructions to wait until you came to her. I told her you'd know when it was time. Don't show these documents to anyone in your family, not yet. Wait for the right moment. You are not dramatic, you are not unstable, you are not incapable, you are a nurse who saves lives. You are a mother who works herself to exhaustion to provide for her child. You are my granddaughter, and you are stronger than they will ever understand. When the time comes, the truth will speak for itself. Trust Margaret. Trust yourself. All my love, forever and always, your Grandma Evelyn P.S. The house sold for $178,000. But I never signed transfer papers. Your father forged my signature after I died. Margaret has the proof. I read it 4 times. The words didn't change. My grandmother had known. She'd known everything. And she'd prepared for this exact moment. I drove to First National Bank. The safe deposit box was exactly where she said it would be. Inside was everything she'd promised. The original will. Photographs of credit card applications with my father's handwriting in the margins. Bank statements with his signature. The forged guardianship papers from when Grandma was dying. Papers where my father had tried to get power of attorney by claiming I was mentally unfit even then, and a sealed envelope addressed to Judge Catherine Morrison, Family Court. I didn't open it. Grandma's instructions said to give it to Margaret Whitaker. I called the number on Margaret's card. A receptionist answered. Whitaker Law, how can I help you? My name is Emily Harlan. I need to speak to Margaret Whitaker about my grandmother, Evelyn Harlan. Silence. Then, can you hold, please? 2 minutes later, a woman's voice came on the line. Older, steady. Emily, I've been waiting for your call. Can you come to my office today? I was there in 20 minutes. Margaret Whitaker was 68, with silver hair and eyes that looked like they'd seen every lie humanity had to offer. Her office smelled like old books and coffee. She closed the door and gestured for me to sit. "Your grandmother was one of my dearest friends," she said. "She came to me 3 years ago and told me what she suspected your father was doing. We set up a plan." "Why didn't she tell me?" "Because she knew they'd convince you that you were wrong, that you were imagining things, that you were being dramatic." Margaret opened a file drawer and pulled out a thick folder. "She wanted you to discover it yourself, to see the evidence with your own eyes, so when the moment came, you wouldn't doubt yourself." She spread the documents across her desk. The real will, leaving the house solely to me. Photographs of my father's handwriting on credit card applications. Security footage from the bank showing him withdrawing money from Grandma's account using a forged power of attorney. Emails between my parents discussing their plan to declare me incompetent and sell the house to pay off the fraudulent debts. And the guardianship petition. The fake one my father had tried to get Grandma to sign 2 years ago, claiming I was mentally unstable and needed supervision. Grandma had refused and had the hospital staff witness her refusal in writing. "He's been planning this for years," Margaret said. "The credit cards, the debt, the narrative that you're unstable. It was all designed to make the guardianship petition seem reasonable." "But why?" "The house is worth $185,000. If he gets guardianship, he controls your assets. He sells the house, pays off the debts you supposedly created, and keeps the rest. You're left with nothing, and he looks like a hero for saving his mentally ill daughter." I felt sick. "My mother knows?" "She helped forge your signature. We have the evidence." "And Megan?" Margaret hesitated. "Your sister believed what they told her." "At first, but then she signed the affidavit for the guardianship petition. That makes her complicit." I thought about Megan standing in my kitchen, quiet, watching our parents destroy me. I'd always thought she was just passive. Now I understood she was active in her silence. "The guardianship hearing is Monday," I said. "I know. Your grandmother predicted they'd move fast." Margaret pulled out another document. "Here's what we're going to do." We spent 3 hours planning. Margaret filed an emergency motion to dismiss the guardianship petition based on fraud. She submitted the evidence of my father's identity theft, the forged signatures, the fake will, everything. She requested a full investigation by the probate court. But the real confrontation wouldn't happen in a courtroom. "Your grandmother wanted you to have this moment," Margaret said. "She wanted the truth to come out in front of people who knew her. People who would understand what she intended." "What moment?" Margaret smiled. It wasn't a kind smile. It was the smile of someone who'd been waiting years to see justice done. "There's a potluck at your family's church this Sunday, after the service. Your parents will be there, your sister, and about 25 members of the congregation who knew your grandmother very well." My stomach flipped. "You want me to confront them at church?" "I want you to let the truth confront them. You just have to show up with the evidence." She handed me a folder. "This is your copy of everything. The will, the fraud evidence, the forged signatures, the photographs, the witness statements. Everything." "What do I do with it?" "You'll know when the time comes. Your grandmother knew you'd know." Sunday morning, I woke up at 8 a.m. I showered. I put on the only dress I owned, navy blue, bought from Target 3 years ago for a funeral. I drove to Riverside Community Church. The service ended at 11:30 a.m. I stayed in my car until I saw people filing into the fellowship hall for the potluck. Then I went inside. The fellowship hall smelled like casseroles and coffee. Long tables were set up in rows covered with dishes people had brought. My mother was near the dessert table, talking to two older women I recognized from Grandma's funeral. My father stood by the coffee maker with the pastor. Megan was helping set out plates and napkins. I walked in carrying the folder. 27 people turned to look at me. I counted them. My mother saw me first. Her face went tight. "Emily, I didn't know you were coming." "I wanted to be here," I said. My voice was steady. I'd practiced this. "Grandma loved this church. She spent 50 years here. I thought people should know the truth about what happened to her. The room went quiet. My father stepped forward. Emily, this isn't the place. It's exactly the place. I set the folder on the nearest table. Before Grandma died, she told me something. She said, "Don't let them take it from you." I didn't understand what she meant. Not until this week. My mother's face went pale. Emily, you're not well. Everyone knows you've been struggling. Is that what you told them? I looked around the room. I recognized Mrs. Chen, my grandmother's neighbor, Tom Bradford, who'd been on the church board with Grandma for 20 years, Rachel Kimmins, the hospice nurse who'd cared for Grandma in her final weeks. Did she tell you I'm mentally unstable? That I've been collapsing and opening fraudulent credit cards? That I'm dangerous? We're worried about you, my mother said. Her voice broke, perfectly timed. Her eyes filled with tears. You're working yourself to death. We're trying to help. Are you? I opened the folder. I pulled out the first document. This is Grandma Evelyn's will, the real one, dated June 14th, 3 years ago. Notarized by Margaret Whitaker. It leaves the house at 482 Maple Ridge Avenue solely to me. Not to you, Mom, not split 3 ways, just me. I held it up so people could see the signature. Grandma's handwriting, clear and firm. My father spoke up. That's not the will that was probated. The real will. The real will is the one that was filed 2 months after Grandma died, I interrupted. Filed by Frederick Townsend, a lawyer Grandma never hired. Want to see the evidence? I pulled out the next document. This is a notarized statement from Margaret Whitaker, confirming that she was Grandma's attorney for 30 years. Frederick Townsend never met her. Tom Bradford leaned in to look. His face changed. Evelyn always used Margaret. Everyone knew that. My mother's tears stopped. Emily, you're misunderstanding. Am I? I pulled out the credit card applications. These are applications for 6 credit cards opened in my name over the last 2 years. Total debt, $47,284. I didn't open them. But someone did. Someone who had my social security number and driver's license information. Someone who had access to Grandma's house where the statements were sent. I held up the photographs. This is my father's handwriting on the margin of one application. He wrote his phone number here for customer service callbacks. I set the photos on the table. People leaned in. I saw recognition on their faces. They knew my father's handwriting. He'd signed the church visitor log every Sunday for 20 years. My father's face went from red to white. Those are forged. She's fabricated this whole thing. Have I? I pulled out the bank statements. These are statements from Grandma's account showing withdrawals totaling $23,000 over 18 months before she died. All signed by someone with power of attorney. Grandma never gave anyone power of attorney. Margaret Whitaker has that on record. I pulled out the security footage stills. This is footage from First National Bank showing you, Dad, making withdrawals using a forged POA document. The room was dead silent. Rachel Kimmins, the hospice nurse, stepped forward. She looked at my parents with something like disgust. I remember when Robert came to the hospice with guardianship papers. He tried to get Evelyn to sign them, saying Emily was mentally incompetent and needed supervision. Evelyn refused. She told me privately that Emily was the only one she trusted. She made me witness her refusal in writing. She turned to me. I have that statement. I gave a copy to Margaret Whitaker per Evelyn's instructions. My mother found her voice. This is ridiculous. You're all believing a girl who collapses from exhaustion and can't manage her own life? I collapsed from exhaustion because I work 60-hour weeks as an ER nurse to pay my bills while you were spending $47,000 on my stolen identity, I said. My voice didn't shake. I have my hospital shift records. March 15th, when one of these cards was activated at a jewelry store in Boston at 2:47 p.m., I was charting patients in the County Memorial ER. I have badge swipe records, time-stamped patient charts. Dr. Marcus Chen's witness statement confirming I never left the building during my 2 p.m. to midnight shift. I pulled out the hospital records. May 8th, when another card was used to buy furniture in Philadelphia at 11 a.m., I was in surgery observation rotation with 17 witnesses, including the head surgeon. I spread the shift logs across the table. Every single fraudulent charge corresponds to a time when I was at work, documented, with witnesses and digital proof. I couldn't have made these purchases because I was saving lives. Pastor David Williams had been standing near the back. He stepped forward now, his face grave. "Susan, Robert, is this true?" My mother looked like she'd been slapped. "She's always been dramatic, always seeking attention. We're trying to protect her from herself. By stealing her identity, by forging guardianship papers." Mrs. Chen's voice shook with anger. "I was Evelyn's neighbor for 30 years. She told me 2 weeks before she died that she was leaving the house to Emily. She said her son, your husband, Susan, was pressuring her to change the will. She refused." My mother whirled on her. "You don't know what you're talking about." "I do," Margaret Whittaker said from the doorway. I hadn't seen her come in. She walked to the center of the room carrying a briefcase. "I'm Evelyn Harlan's attorney. I've been waiting 3 years for this moment." She opened the briefcase and pulled out a sealed envelope. "This is a letter Evelyn wrote to this congregation. She gave it to me with instructions to deliver it only if Robert and Susan attempted to disinherit Emily or harm her in any way." She broke the seal and read, "To my beloved church family, if you're hearing this letter, then my fears have come true. My son Robert and his wife Susan have tried to take the house I left to my granddaughter Emily. They will tell you she's unstable, irresponsible, mentally unfit. They will have documentation. They're very good at documentation. I want you to know the truth. Emily is the kindest, most hardworking person I've ever known. She became a nurse because she wanted to help people. She works herself to exhaustion because she's a single mother trying to provide for her daughter while sending money to her family who don't deserve it. Robert has always resented Emily. I don't know why. Maybe because she looks like his father. Maybe because she has integrity and he doesn't. Whatever the reason, he's been planning to destroy her credibility for years, so he could take what I'm leaving her. I'm leaving Emily the house because she's the only one who visits me without wanting something. She comes every Sunday just to sit with me. She brings me vanilla wafers and doesn't complain when I tell the same stories 5 times. She holds my hand when I'm scared of dying. Robert visits to check on his inheritance. Susan comes to catalog my jewelry. Megan stopped coming 2 years ago. I've left evidence of Robert's fraud with Margaret Whittaker. I've documented everything. By the time you hear this, Emily will have shown you the proof. I'm asking you, as people who knew me and loved me, to stand with Emily, to believe her when she tells you the truth, to not let my son destroy the one person in my family worth saving. Thank you for 50 years of fellowship. Thank you for letting me teach Sunday school and serve on the missions board and bring too much potato salad to every potluck. Please take care of my little star. With love, Evelyn Harlan." Margaret finished reading. The silence in the room was crushing. My mother's face crumpled. "This is a lie." Evelyn was confused at the end. She didn't know what she was saying. "She wrote this letter 2.5 years before she died," Margaret said. "When she was completely lucid. I have her doctor's statement confirming her mental competence at the time of signing." My father finally spoke. His voice was low, dangerous. "You've poisoned everyone against us with your lies and manipulation. This whole thing is a fabrication. The church will see through it." Pastor Williams shook his head. "Robert, I've known you for 23 years. I've never seen you this defensive unless you're hiding something." "I'm not hiding anything." "Then explain the bank statements," Tom Bradford said. He was holding one of the documents, studying it. "This shows you withdrew $4,100 from Evelyn's account on March 3rd. The withdrawal slip has your signature. That was for her medical expenses." "Her medical expenses were covered by Medicare and the Church Benevolence Fund," Mrs. Chen said. "I helped coordinate them. We paid for everything." My father's jaw worked. He looked at my mother. She looked at Megan. Megan was crying, real crying, not performative. Mom, you said Emily was sick. You said we were helping her. We are helping her, my mother hissed. She's about to lose everything because she can't manage her life. We're saving her. By framing her for fraud? Megan's voice broke. By stealing Grandma's house? It's not stealing, if it should have been ours in the first place, my mother snapped. And there it was, the truth she'd been hiding under 30 years of church smiles and charitable donations. Evelyn had no right to cut us out. That house should go to her children, not her granddaughter who can barely keep a roof over her head. The room erupted. People started talking at once. Someone said, "I can't believe this." Someone else said, "All this time." My father held up his hands. "Everyone calm down. This is a family matter. It doesn't concern—" "It concerns all of us," Pastor Williams said. His voice cut through the noise. "You brought your guardianship petition to church last week. You asked for prayer support, claiming Emily was mentally incompetent. You made it our business." My father's face went gray. "I was trying to protect my daughter." "No," I said quietly. Everyone turned to look at me. "You were trying to control me. Like you've been trying to control me my whole life, telling me I'm dramatic when I express emotions, telling me I'm unstable when I stand up for myself, telling me I'm incompetent so you can take what Grandma left me." I gathered the documents back into the folder. "The guardianship hearing is tomorrow. I'll be there with my attorney and all of this evidence. The judge will see what you've done. The probate court will investigate the fraud, and I'll get the house that Grandma wanted me to have." I looked at my mother. "You're right about one thing. I can barely keep a roof over my head, but that's because I work an honest job for honest pay. I don't steal from dying relatives. I don't forge signatures. I don't destroy my own child to get what I want." I turned to leave. Margaret Whitaker walked with me. Behind me, I heard my father say, "She's lying. This is all fabricated." But no one was listening to him anymore. I heard Mrs. Chen say, "I think you should leave, Robert." I heard Tom Bradford say, "The board needs to discuss your membership status." I heard the whispers starting, the ones that would follow my parents for the rest of their lives. I walked out of the fellowship hall into the bright Sunday afternoon. Margaret put a hand on my shoulder. "Your grandmother would be proud," she said. I nodded. I couldn't speak yet. The guardianship hearing the next day lasted 7 minutes. The judge took one look at Margaret's evidence, listened to her present the documentation of fraud, and dismissed the petition with prejudice. She ordered an investigation into my father's financial activities and flagged the probate case on Grandma's estate for review. My father was arrested 2 weeks later on charges of identity theft, forgery, and elder financial abuse. My mother was named as an accomplice. They both faced up to 12 years in prison. Megan called me 3 days after the church confrontation. "I didn't know," she said. "I really didn't. They told me you were sick, that you needed help. I believed them." "You signed the affidavit," I said. "I know. I'm sorry. I should have talked to you first. I should have questioned them." "Yes, you should have. Can I do anything to make this right?" I thought about it. "You can tell the truth, at the trial, when they ask you what you knew and when you knew it." "I will." She did. The house was legally mine by June. Margaret handled everything. I moved in on a Saturday with help from Mrs. Chen and 3 nurses from my unit at County Memorial. We carried boxes up the porch steps, and I unlocked the door with my own key. The house still smelled like lavender. I kept Grandma's pineapple cookie jar. I planted vanilla wafer flowers in the garden, white petals that opened in the morning sun. Emma came to visit that summer. She was 6 now, gap-toothed and curious. She ran through the rooms where I'd spent my childhood and asked me why Grandma's room was empty. "She's not here anymore," I said, "but she made sure we'd have a home." Did she love us? More than anything. I got a call from David in July. He'd been watching the news coverage of my parents' trial. "I should have believed you," he said. "When you told me about the credit cards, I'm sorry." "It's okay." No, it's not. You were telling the truth and I assumed you were wrong. That's not okay. Thank you for saying that. We talked about Emma's custody arrangement, about maybe revisiting it now that I had stable housing. We didn't make promises, but it was a start. 6 months after the church confrontation, I sat on Grandma's porch with coffee and watched the sun come up. It was February. Snow covered the yard. The house was warm. I thought about the girl I'd been at 6:47 a.m. on that Tuesday morning, waking up on her kitchen floor with blood on her face, and her father telling her she was dramatic. I thought about how close I'd come to believing him, to letting them take everything. Grandma had saved me, not with money or connections, with preparation, with belief, with a letter that said, "You are not what they say you are." If you're watching this, and you've ever been told you're too sensitive, too dramatic, too much, I want you to know something. The people who say that are the ones who need you to be quiet. They need you to doubt yourself. Out. Because the moment you trust yourself, you become dangerous to their lies. If you've ever had to choose between staying silent to keep the peace or speaking truth to lose everything, type, "I spoke my truth" in the comments. Or if you're still working up the courage, type, "I'm getting there." Both are valid. Both take strength. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. And thank you for believing that the truth matters. I'm Emily Grace Harlan. I'm 33. I'm a nurse, a mother, and a homeowner. And I'm not dramatic, I'm just done being quiet.